in these areas, the bites each mean a different like focus. You have to start to see where are you maybe ahead of the game and where do you need to start to change some things.
Right. So basically, I really like your question. So that's like, let's say we're selling your house, right? So if we're selling your house and you're like, oh no, this kitchen, I imported all of these pieces, right? So the reality is somebody is going to appreciate that, right? So what you're looking for is you're looking for the right buyer. So maybe you could keep some of that, but yes, go through the bites, like the budget, right? If you're already making tons of money, great, right? Let's make sure that we have an accountant that comes in that's neutral, just so we get all of those books in order. So when the buyer comes in, you're set. You're like, look, this is transparent. I had somebody, a third party, come in that has nothing to do with us. And then if you do that, and then if you go into like the investing, actually, I really like the investing in my bites for people, and I'll tell you why. Because if you are going to sell your company, or you're going to grow it, like, what are the things that you want to do? Like, where do you want to grow, right? And so if you really think about the investing, then that kind of can give you also a framework for all the expenses, right? What are you going to pay for the investment banking firm? What are you going to pay for taxes? What are all these things? How much do you need to live the life that you want to live? And so you really start looking at that, because maybe you haven't looked at that for a while, because you've been making good money. Now something's changed, right? Or at some point you're going to I don't know, just really put some time and effort to think of that, and putting money back into the company. Also, for the investing, for example, if you're going to bring a consultant in to help you, right? So
Yeah.
all of that could be part of the cash that you have. So just really taking a look at that, not in terms of a budget, but in terms of how can you invest a little bit now so you could get a lot in the future. Okay, so I think for like taxes, definitely get like a professional to start helping you take a look. If you're going to exit, right? How much are you going to want? Because sometimes people don't consider this, or what are ways, right? If there's different ways to deal with it, but you have to deal with it. That's the reality. Sometimes people want to wait until the end, or they just don't think about it, and you have to think about it. And that's why it's in the middle. It just kind of came out in the middle, but I really think that it's so important that people just, and the reality is, we all know they change every single year,
Right.
right? So it is definitely important to, even just regularly, right? Talk to your, like, somebody that is really really great with taxes and selling businesses. Um, that's definitely I find it very, very important, and I just think a lot of people try to avoid it because they do change
Or
every year.
they go to their financial provider, like their financial planner or advisor, and they say, okay, how much money do I need to retire? And they'll be like, oh, you need $5 million. And that is, after like maybe you need like an $8 or $10 million
Love that. I
exit.
love that.
And
I love that.
everybody's like, okay, well, I need 10 million for my company. And I'm like, you got EBITDA of like $50,000. Like, I don't know
Right.
how we're going to get to a 10
Yeah.
million, like even just from a big picture kind of view. So I think it's not just understanding what you need to retire, but starting to match that what you need is, does that even have an indicator
Yeah.
of value?
Yeah, and I absolutely love what you're saying right now, because I think that especially if you already have your company and you're doing well, like, to grow that, it's really, I mean, you have everything already. You have customers, you have everything you need. For you to grow that, it's actually not that complicated. So if in fact, your EBITDA is 50,000, but you really need 10 million. I mean, maybe you need to work for another 3 to 5 years and you can hit your number, but you will have to bring in consultants, and you will have to think a little bit differently of how you're doing everything. But it's not I mean, you're already doing it all. You're
Yeah.
already doing it all. There's, and that's where you could go to the investing, right? Like, where do we go? How much should we allocate for this? And so I think like consultants, like a strategist would be able to help you with that, right? Maybe there's some products that you can put to bed. Maybe there's other products. Maybe your customers are already asking you for stuff and you just haven't really listened to them because you're like, but maybe now it's time to listen to them. Like, oh, wow, look at this. We're upselling. Our clients are telling us what they want. So
Yeah.
so just little things like that, and they make such a big difference in your business. And it's really just about taking action on some of these things that are already there. They're already in your space.
Well, and there's some complacency, I think, whenever you're successful, whenever you're making money, you're kind of like you get into a groove. And I think that it's important what you talked about earlier is that you guys had a consultant come in and it took 3 years. And so a lot of times we see the baby boomers have a health scare or they all of a sudden their spouse, I see this a lot, their spouse is like, listen, you've been a workaholic for our entire life. We have enough. I want to travel. I want to be with you. And I think that a lot of times business owners think that we're just like marketing to them and saying, "Oh no, plan 3 to 5 years in advance." But this is the truth. Like having an exit strategy is more important because it could be 3 to 5 years in the future, and even planning to exit your baby company, like in leaving that family, that place that you've gone every single day for decades is a process of kind of disconnecting as well. So talk to us about exit strategy because I think this is a big one.
Yeah, I think I always joke around with this one. I say, okay, Melissa, you're going to move to a new house, right? Like, are you going to take everything in your house? And well, that closet that I haven't opened in like 10 years, probably not. That other room over there, right? So that's all pretty much an exit strategy. Is it's like think about if you're going to move, what are you going to keep and what are you going to leave behind? And if you can just run your business that way, you're going to take care of that hole in the wall. You're going to take care of all of these little things that, they just kind of become part of the background, but they're little things that need your attention, and that goes into your budget, and that goes into like your product, and that goes into your employees. So it goes into every part of it, right? It's almost like you're doing a spring cleaning. That's the way I look at exit strategies. Like, right, like if you wanted to go out away for like a month or 6 months, your business is going to be able to run just fine. And that's another thing. If you get your company ready to exit, you could keep it and you could take trips, and your wife isn't going to be upset because, right, we're not doing these things. And then you could come back because your systems are there, which leads us to my final one.
I know. And this is the hardest one. Like a lot of people start as small businesses, solo entrepreneurs, and then they have an idea that just blossoms, right? And so now they add people. And you're exactly right. If you really just want a business and you don't want to sell it, you just want to grow it, then you got to remove yourself out of the equation and you got to figure out how it's going to make money without you. But this takes it one step further and is like not only that, but if you have other people working for you and now you have a team, you have a management team, you have employees, you have 100 people. If you don't have standard operating procedures, I think you're a little bit sunk. It's almost like this is kind of a place that you would be focused on to get to a 10 million of revenue, a 50 million of
Yep.
revenue. And if
Yep.
you're not doing some of these things, that could be why it seems like you're a workaholic
Yep.
because you are. And it's a control thing, but also it's not trusting your
Mhm.
team. It's a whole bunch of things. So talk to us about this important one.
Yeah, so definitely building your systems, and I'm really liking what you're saying. I was listening to your podcast with the fractional CFO, and that was amazing because some of the stuff she was talking about in terms of doing the accounting for people, and like oh wow, COVID happened, and this was still being done this way, or finding better deals, or just all of these little pieces. And so the standard operating procedures will give you a clear indication of what actually is happening in different pieces of your business. And I think that's where, after years, after growing so much, you kind of lose track of all of this. But it is extremely, extremely important. So, and I think about this, Melissa, like maybe even starting a company to just send like these operators in for, just to help, like, psychologists to go ahead and help. You have your operator with your psychologist both going in together as a team, and to just really create these systems, right? Let's do a diagnostic test, right? Like, seriously, like you take your car in to get a diagnostic test, right? To make sure that it's all up and running. You should be doing that to your business as well regularly,
Well,
because
and
that
that's
will save you a lot of money, a lot of money.